So, I introduce Delegate Lee Ware, and give him a round of applause for all of you.
Good morning. Aren't you glad to be here with a lot of friends? I'm particularly delighted to welcome back to Powhatan County a friend of mine, Ken Cuccinelli. You know, you can say the biographical facts about Ken, but it doesn't do him justice. But let me tell you a little bit about him biographically, and then what I've come to know is I've worked with him in the legislature of Virginia. Ken is from Virginia, grew up in Fairfax County, which he has represented in the state Senate. He's never taken the easy road. When he went to the University of Virginia, what did he choose for a major? Mechanical engineering. He went on from there. He's got his law degree from George Mason, an additional master's degree in international studies from George Mason. He was elected in 2002 to the state Senate. He's one of those rare birds, a conservative from Northern Virginia. He was elected 3 times from the state Senate, and as you know, he is now our Attorney General, General Cuccinelli. Ken is a man of conviction, and that is what makes it a real pleasure to serve with him. Because if there were ever a time when we needed men and women of conviction, it's today. People who stand for something and then act on that stand when they get into office. Attorney General Cuccinelli, I think, is going to be on a first-name basis pretty soon with the federal district court judges in the Eastern District. And he's going to be that way not because he enjoys being in court, not because he got into court to be contentious or litigious. He got into the position that he's in because he wanted to defend you and I. And it's for those reasons that he is in court. It's for those reasons that he has brought his knowledge of the Constitution to bear again and again and again in those circumstances, in pleadings in the federal district court. It's a real pleasure to have him here, and to remind ourselves of what John Adams said. We've thought a few times about our early years. John Adams said this: ours is a government of laws, not of men. If there's a man in the state of Virginia who stands on that, it's Ken Cuccinelli, and it's a real pleasure to have him back in Powhatan, Virginia.
It's great to be with so many people who appreciate the Constitution. That isn't everywhere in this country right now, but I know it is all over Virginia. And of course, I've been in office now almost 3 months. It's funny, when I hear some introductions, they talk about swearing in on January 16th, and whenever I hear that, I think, yeah, and the swearing at began on January 17th. And it's kept up pretty steadily since then. It's actually reaching a little higher pitch. First 3 months have been kind of boring in office. Okay, not so much. But there are people in my office sort of pining for boredom at this point. But keep in mind, the Attorney General's office is a very reactive office. We wouldn't be suing the EPA if the EPA didn't abandon all semblance of science and law to put out its endangerment finding on CO2. So let's make them all happy just for a moment. Everyone just hold your breath. There we go. At least a short period of time with no CO2. Now the trees are going to protest, but at least EPA will be happy. That was in response to the action by the federal government. We were joined immediately by Alabama and Texas in that effort, and since then 13 other states have joined us, including a number of them represented by Democrats. So that is a bipartisan effort to try and rein in government power, and government power being exercised outside of Congress. This is a habit of this administration. It's consistent with the czars. It is to go outside of the usual legal process to try and expand the power of the federal government. And the first and most important part of the oath I took for this office was to defend the constitutions of the United States and Virginia. And that is what we're doing in these efforts. Not only has the EPA extended federal power to an extraordinary degree, and a lot of people are familiar with cap and trade. This is cap and trade on steroids. It is faster, it is more far-reaching, it is more economically destructive, and it will take away more opportunities for future generations than cap and trade if it's ever passed. That's to put it in some perspective for you. It's incredibly destructive, and with no apparent environmental benefit that anybody can demonstrate. A month after that came the health care bill, and I appreciate the Patrick Henry references from the Lee brother contingent earlier here. It is ironic that that health care bill was signed on the 235th anniversary of the Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech by Patrick Henry. And I didn't realize until 9:30 that night when I was on a conference call talking about the bill and the lawsuit that we filed our suit about a mile from where that speech was given on the same day, a few minutes later. There are a lot of things that I can say about that lawsuit, but when you boil it down, it comes down to this. This suit is about protecting liberty itself.
Hear, hear. Yeah.
Healthcare is the subject matter, but liberty is the issue.
Right. Amen.
Liberty is the issue. Never before, under the guise of regulating commerce, has the federal government attempted to compel you to buy any product from any American. They're going to compel you into commerce under the guise of regulating commerce. That is an extraordinary power if the federal government were allowed to exercise it. And we shall see if they'll be allowed to exercise it.
There you go.
You know, last week, a week and a half ago or so, a law professor, and lots of them are sounding off on this case, there's one named Jonathan Turley at George Washington University. He's not a conservative. He's not a liberal. He is well regarded in political circles inside the Beltway, so take that for what it's worth. But he had an op-ed in the USA Today a week and a half ago or so about the suit. And his comments about the consequences of losing were very interesting in two respects. One, the extraordinarily strong language that he used, and two, the consequence that he identified. And I think he's exactly right. If we lose this case, nothing less than the end of federalism as it has been known for over 220 years will have taken place. That check and balance between the state and federal governments will essentially be gone. If the federal government can compel you what to buy, now remember, they have to approve the insurance product you're going to buy. And don't worry, there'll be over 16,000 new IRS agents, the healthcare police, to make sure you're buying the right product, as if to emphasize how much liberty is going away with this bill. If they can do that, there's no limit to the reach of the federal government as a practical matter. And what we're aiming to do, among other things, Virginia is aiming to remind the federal government that the sovereign states created the federal government and not the other way around.